Welcome everyone to Reporting in Dynamics GP Made Easy with GP Reports Viewer with Flexible Solutions. So I will just start with a few housekeeping items. First, I'll start with introductions. My name is Ashley Canali. I'm a Client Strategy Manager here with Interdyne Artists. And then, of course, presenting with us today is Victoria Uden of Flexible Solutions. So as far as the questions, what we'll do is if you'll put your questions in the question box, we'll gather them and answer them all at the end. Finally, the recording, we'll send that out to all of the attendees and those who registered at the end, and then it'll also be stored on our website for future use. All right, perfect. So Vision 2019 is upon us, so registration is already open. So if you haven't already, go ahead and register. You can save $50 when you register now with our early bird pricing. So this year it's going to be 2 days. It's going to encompass not only GP, but Business Central and Nav, customer engagement, and some emergency technologies as well. So it'll be really fun, and we hope to see you there. So at this time, I will hand it over to Victoria. Thanks, Victoria.
Thank you very much, Ashley. Hi, everyone. My name is Victoria Uden. I have a company called Flexible Solutions that's got a great little add-on for Dynamics GP that is really geared towards making reporting easier and better for everyone, especially people that are in GP all day, every day. So I'm just going to take you through a few of the highlights. There's a lot of stuff in here. One of the things that we find the most useful for GP users is to have access to reports as they're doing a task. For example, as they're talking to a customer, instead of having to leave whatever window they're in and having to go somewhere else, we want them to be able to run whatever reports they need right there. So, for example, if you're talking to a customer, a lot of times you might have this window open where you've got the customer transactions. And really from here, if you wanted to interact with the customer and give them maybe a list of what's happened on their account or you know, some details as far as here's what you owe us right now, it's really kind of difficult. What we've done is added automatically a few little reports. I'm just finding a customer. Let's work with this customer. And one thing you can do is you can, with our product, replace what happens with the print button. So instead of printing the GP report, which if anyone's worked with this window, they know that report is pretty hideous and very hard to read. What you can do is set it up so that it will automatically email, and I can just say, okay, it'll, and there's just a couple of settings to accomplish this, pretty easy to set up. So it'll create me a new email, and all I have to do is put in someone's email address. It's got my report as an attachment, and here's what that looks like. Okay, so instead of you know, the hideous report that comes out of GP, you've got a nice, beautiful report that you can send to a customer saying, here's all of your history. And of course, this is just an example. This can be any report that helps you work with your customers. Similarly, let's say you wanted to send them a list of here's stuff that's open. Here's what you owe us right now. Again, this is just an example, but you can also work with the additional menu, and you can have as many reports here as you want. If there are maybe 5 or 6 different reports or things that you might want to look at or send as you're talking to a customer, they can all just be listed here, and you can pick the right one. So again, this one I've got set up to email automatically. For some reason, this webinar is hiding there's little check boxes here, so if you normally are running this, you would see there's a little checkbox next to the email. And you can actually just deselect that and choose something like screen or something else. But so this one is set up as an Excel report. In this case, again, it's data that you want to show whoever you're working with, whether it's a customer or someone internal. You can just, oh boy. There we go. Sorry, it's just a little slow. I apologize for that. So this is a refreshable Excel report, and it's just going to show whatever data you want. So all of these are completely custom. You can create whatever report makes sense for you to show, in this example, to your customers. So this, in this example, it's got a list of their open invoices, the original amount, what's still due on it, the total due from the customer, and of course this is sample data, so these are a little crazy here. That can be whatever you want. Since this is a refreshable report, if you actually send it to someone inside your organization, they actually would be able to refresh it as needed if the data changes. If you're sending it to a customer, in my example, they just get static data. So they just get this and nothing else. They're not able to update it or anything like that. Just close these. Okay. So that's kind of one of the most popular features is basically you can attach a report to any window in GP, anywhere where it makes sense. Instead of having to figure out, okay, I've got to go somewhere else, I've got to print something out, I've got to scan it in, attach it to an email. All of that is just a couple of clicks now. Another great example of that I have is oftentimes we hear that when someone is preparing a check run, which is usually at least once a week, sometimes a couple of times a week, and they have to give a list to maybe their boss to approve. So here's the check run that I've prepared. Please approve this before I actually cut the checks, or maybe nowadays it's EFT payments. Instead of getting the, again, the really ugly report that comes out of GP, what you can do is something like this, where let's say I'm on this window where I've got a bunch of stuff selected, and you can see my check batch total is 153,000 up top here. I can go up here and say, let's email this to my boss. All right, so it's going to come up with a brand new email address, email for me. All of this can be pre-saved. If I'm pretty much putting in the same thing every time, I can pre-save all of this, and I don't have to do anything else with it. The only thing I have to do is throw in an email address in here, and then everything else is done. So here's an example of what this looks like. Let me show it to you like this. Okay, so it's got a really nice user-friendly way of seeing the checks as well as the details that are in there. Okay, we call this shortcuts. So basically you can put a report shortcut in a couple of different ways on just about every window in GP. And I would say that's probably one of our most popular features. So let me go on to the next one. And again, everything that you're seeing, it can be printed from the windows that it belongs to. It also can be printed from a main window. So if you're not on that window necessarily, someone else maybe created a check batch and you want to print it, you can come into our GP Reports Viewer window and print it the same way. So here's our check batch report, and I just need to select the batch in here. I can click on my little looking glass and find the batch. Let's do another one. We printed the one with the 10 checks before. I'm going to select the other one. And you can just preview it to the screen. So you can take a look at what it would send beforehand if you wanted to, or just take a look for yourself. Or if you wanted to, you could print it to the printer, and you can email it right from here as well. On this window, you basically have every custom report that you've set up with GP Reports Viewer right in here. So you can categorize it. These are completely user-defined. You can have as many of these little folders as you want. You can put as many reports into each as you want. It'll look like that. And this will work with 3 different types of reports. It will work with Crystal reports. Those are the little blue icons here. It will work with SQL Server reporting services. Those are the red ones. And it will work with Excel. And each one will have slightly different ways. When the report comes up, it'll look slightly different. But as far as what type of report, you don't really need to even care about that if you're using these. So let's say I'm looking at the customer aging detail. If I send that to the screen, it'll just open up the report. Again, doesn't really matter what type of report it is. And any functionality that I have, in this case, this is SQL Server reporting services. So a lot of the times those reports are created with drill downs and a lot of columns. And so you have all that functionality right in here. Quick and easy. And if you wanted to from here, you could dump it to Excel, just like you normally would do in SSRS. The big difference here is that you've got all of this inside GP. You've also got Excel reports. So you can have Excel reports, find a good one. You can have Excel reports that take parameters. The reason that's important is that that's a little bit different and a lot more functionality than you normally get out of something like Smart List or Excel List Builder. So this can be based on code that actually takes a parameter. In this example, let's say you wanted to see a budget, and there are a lot of different budgets in GP. So in this case, I can just pick one, tell it to preview. If it's an Excel report, it will actually open Excel for us. So it's smart enough to know, based on what the report is, what it needs to do. You don't have to worry about any of that. And you get this kind of beautiful stuff happening. And again, from here, you can print it to the screen, you can email it, you can print it to the printer, whatever you want. You can also do things like save parameters. So let's say I've got this report that's a checkbook register, and it wants three things. It wants a checkbook ID, it wants a date from, and a date to. But let's say I have three different checkbooks that I normally do this for. I can actually save favorites, just like in Smart List. So I can find something I like. You know, maybe I want to do this for, this is GP 2018, so it's got some crazy future dates in there. So let's use this. So I've put this in, and maybe I'm going to reprint this every week. I can save it. I can just click on favorites, just like in Smart List, and say, right, my new favorite. You can call this whatever you want. You can save this either for the whole company or for just your user ID, so no one else sees this. And once you add it, it just shows up right there. And just like in Smart List, if you want to remove it, you can click on favorites and hit remove. Sorry about that. For some reason, the buttons aren't quite showing up. I think there's something to do with how we're sharing this on the webinar. I apologize. It normally would look exactly like all the other buttons in GP would. So you've got favorites, you've got a whole bunch of reports. The next thing I like to show on these demos is something that we added that was widely requested. We had a lot of people requesting the ability to work with statements, with customer statements easier. And some of the things we were hearing were that you know, the window that you use to send statements in GP is very difficult to navigate. We got a lot of complaints from people that wanted to both mail and email statements at the same time. We heard some issues that a lot of companies were having when they were sending a lot of emails, where it would just kind of get stuck in the middle. So based on all that feedback, what we decided to do was create our own window for this, kind of to replace the functionality. So it looks like this, and I've already got one pre-set up, but basically you can pre-set up some profiles where if you have maybe 3 different people sending statements, they can each have their own so they don't change other people's settings. Or if you have different reasons that you're sending statements, maybe you send one to everyone once a month, and then throughout the month, maybe weekly, you send people that are overdue separate statements. You can pre-save all the settings so you don't have to keep reselecting them every time. Let me just briefly go through the settings because they're kind of interesting here. And again, I apologize, we're not seeing the radio buttons here, so it's a little bit tough here, but I'm just going to tell you what's happening. This one has the total balance due exceeds selected. So for example, if I didn't want to send statements to everyone, I just wanted to send them to people that had, you know, a few dollars or more of a balance. In other words, I don't want to send them to anyone that's got $2 due. I also don't want to send them to anyone that's got a negative balance due. I can do that. And I can actually click on the preview button here, and I can see all the customers that would be captured by that. I can sort them by the balance. Take a look. One of the really nice things that this shows is right away it shows you what the email address for the customer is that you've got saved. So if you want to take a look and say, you know what, I have an email address for this customer, I can just click right on here, put in the email address, save it, and if you look, it's this one, the one that has $41,000. If I redisplay, it's now updated. So it's pretty much automatically, quickly manipulated by you. You can also do things like, if I want to say, well, I want to send only people that are really overdue. So maybe anyone that's in the 61 to 90 days or more has a balance. You can use that. I'm just going to leave it at the $5 here for now. The next thing you can do is, and again, I apologize, there are check boxes here that you would normally be able to see. You can either just print them off of the screen. You can take a look. You can print them to the printer. You can email them, and this has a checkbox next to it. You just can't see it right now. To email customers with a valid email address and print or preview the rest of them. So let me see if it'll let me. It won't let me actually select one. Sorry about that. So let me just show you what that would look like. I'm just going to click the print here. And again, so the idea is if you have this sorry, give me 1 second here. There we go. So it's actually, it was selected to print and send email. So here's the idea. Let's say you're sending 1,000 statements to customers. 200 of them have email addresses and the other 800 don't. What would happen with this is it would email the 200 that it can, and the rest, the 800 in my example, would just print out, and then you can send them by mail. You don't have to manually figure anything out. It's just all automatically calculated and done for you. Let me show you what one of these looks like. And again, all of this is predefined, so you can set up whatever message you want this to have. It will always attach a PDF. We don't give you a choice on that. We've not had anyone request anything other than PDF as an attachment for these kinds of things. Let me show you this. So this is just a sample that's included in the product. I've had actually a lot of people like this and just say, okay, we'll just put our logo and address on there and we're good to go. But this can be anything. This could be as complicated as you want, as simple as you want. Let me just show you a couple of others here. So as you can see, this emailed a whole bunch, right? And then once it's done, what it normally would do is it would send the rest of them to the screen. And again, I apologize. It's always fun when these things happen when you're demoing. Let me get a little clear here. See if that happens again. Sorry about that. So yeah, the idea again is that it would email whatever it can. Let's just look at a couple of others. I'm trying to find one. One of the things I wanted to show is within these reports, because these are custom, you have a lot more leeway as to what you can do. For example, this one, if you look at it, make it a little bit smaller. It's only showing a few invoices, and it's only showing invoices with balances. So if you've ever printed statements from within GP, if you want to not put on statements anything that's already fully paid, you actually have to move all the transactions to history first. With a custom report, you don't have to do anything like that. You can just, within the code of your report, say, okay, we only want to include anything that still has a balance. So it's a lot easier to work with your data. You don't have to go through a lot of hoops to actually get the statement to look like what you want. If you want to have things like, page 1 of 3, if you have statements that are very long. If you want to have beautiful logos, all of that is really not a problem to do once you have a custom report. So that's statements. Let me just show you a couple of more things. Of course, the big thing that we get a lot of people asking for, and really one of the reasons a lot of times that we see people buying our product is for sales invoices. That's probably the biggest one, where if you're printing or sending invoices to customers, a lot of times there are very significant customizations or changes required. Sometimes it's, we have a whole bunch of extender data maybe that we want to add to the invoices. Sometimes it's a matter of, we have 3 divisions and we want to automatically have the logo change based on maybe the customer ID or the customer class or something. Or we want to, even silly things like we want to be able to show page 1 of 3 on the invoice. And of course, the same applies to sales orders, sales packing lists, returns, all the sales reports that come out. So normally, you would go in here and, boy, this is killing me. I apologize. I'm not sure what's going on, but there's just no check boxes. And I don't know if when I'm clicking on them, it actually does anything. Yeah, okay, it's not. Phew, I am sorry about that. Let me see if I can simulate. So what would happen is, and the email will work, so we can email it out of here. If you click print, it'll just normally print to the screen the same thing that we're going to get in an email right here. So give me just 1 second here. Here we go. And again, when you're emailing, it's always going to be a PDF. This can be Crystal reports, or this can be SQL Server Reporting Services reports. They'll work the same exact way. There's really nothing different that you would do inside the product, inside GP, to print these. It just happens to, when it prints or emails, grab your custom report instead of the out-of-the-box GP report. So again, let me just show it to you a little smaller. This is a sample that's included with GP Report Viewer. You can, of course, if you like it, just take it and put your logo and address on there, or you can take a look at it to see kind of here's how it would be done and use that as a sample. We do, of course, have very detailed instructions on how to do all of this stuff, with your own report in our user guide. So if you wanted to follow along, you can make this look however you want. This will work with pretty much anywhere that you're printing invoices in GP with, batches. One of the big benefits we also offer is that if you're using custom code behind a report like this, you don't have to have a separate report for an unposted invoice and the historical invoice, and an unposted return and historical return, and an order and a historical order. If they all look pretty much similar, maybe some of them have some things hidden shown, you can create one report to replace all of those. And the benefit of that, of course, is that if you need to make a change, let's say your logo changes, you don't have to go to 10 reports to change that, you just do it in one place. Or let's say, your address changes, or you want to maybe show some different information. Again, it's just one report to change instead of a lot that you're using if you're using the out-of-the-box GP reports for this kind of stuff. So again, it'll work with batches. You can also do the same thing with purchase orders. So if you're in a purchase order and you're looking at one, we can just click the email button and it will be missing. Give me 1 second here. Let's find one that's not missing. Make sure this one is good. Okay. Let's try this one. Not liking that. All right. Give me 1 second. I'm just going to make it. I'm going to fix it to make it work. There we go. All right. Here we go. So again, same kind of thing. Of course, with purchase orders, it's a little bit simpler. There's no batches or anything like that. But it will work the same way where you can email it or print it, and it's a completely custom report, whatever you'd like to see. So I see that we've got just a few minutes. I wanted to see, Ashley, if there were any questions.
We haven't gotten any questions yet.
Okay, this is the time. Got a couple of minutes. I can keep showing a few things, but if you want to send in the questions, this is your chance. Let me show you one really cool feature that we've just added. We're still actually working on making it even better, but what we're getting requests for is things like I guess what we call mass email. So here's the scenario. Let's say you have 20 salespeople, and every week you might want to send them a list of the balances that each of their customers have so that they can help you collect on those balances. Or maybe you want to send them a monthly report of their commissions. instead of doing these one at a time or instead of printing them out and handing them out, what you can do is you can set it up to work with our GP reports viewer with mass emailing. So I've got a report set up here that's a list of customer balances by salesperson. It's very simple. It's just one, well, however much it fits, but usually one pager per salesperson of just their customer balances. Once it's all set up, all you do is you come in here, you pick the report, you say mass email, and on the bottom here, send email. And what it will do, and we'll go to my outbox here, is it'll cycle through the report, and whatever you've said, there's a little bit of setup there, but whatever it finds as far as the salespeople, it's going to start emailing them one at a time. So here's one that's for Greg, right? So here's a list of Greg's customers and their balances. Just a one-pager here. Let me look at a different one. So here's, I'm just randomly picking them here. Here's another one. So here we've got one for Erin, and it's her list of customers, right? So now this is, of course, just one example. You can use this for anything. We've had people use this for, let's say they want to send their vendors every week a list of here are the purchase orders that are going to be due in the next 2 weeks, or that you've promised us in the next 2 weeks. We just want to kind of, make sure you're aware of them. You can send monthly sales invoices to your customers. You can send, we have one customer I know I just talked to that is sending remittance information to their employees for their payroll. It really can be for anything inside GP. As long as the data can be found in there, you can do a mass email using this. All right, that's probably about it. Question?
Oh, yep, sorry, this is Ashley. Will you tell us a little bit about pricing, please?
Sure, let me actually, I have pricing right here. The pricing is based on the number of users you have in GP. Let me just make that a little bigger here. So it's tiered. So depending on this is only full user licenses, right? Depending on that, here's the pricing. The maintenance is 20% a year, and it includes unlimited support. We also include helping you, when you first purchase, install and set up if you'd like. We will include that. We always offer that. We probably get about 30% of the time people ask us about that because it's pretty straightforward. There's not a lot of implementation required. Pretty easy to set up and install. Any other questions, Ashley?
No, that's perfect. Thank you so much. Oh,
sure.
I actually have one. Excuse me.
Okay.
When sending the drill down Excel reports to individuals in your company, do they have to be GP users to drill down?
No, not at all. If you're sending, if you're sending an Excel report, you can send it even outside of your company. Whatever's on the report, they will see, if they're not on your network, they'll see the static data, which is typically what you want when you're sending those reports. So there's no limitation on that. You can send them to whoever you want.
Great.
Great question.
I don't think we have any more questions. Yeah, so thank you guys for attending today's webinar. Please reach out to Chelsea, Lisa, or I if you have any questions, want a more detailed demo, or have any requests for additional information. Thanks again.
Thanks, everyone.